virtual lecture of the Roma Lecture Series on the theme of Roma in Nordic countries, pathways to inclusion and human rights. Today, we have very eminent speaker, Angelina Dimiter Taikon. She is an activist on Roma issues and expert in Roma inclusion and minority affairs. She has worked on a government level initiatives related to Roma education. And she educates and trains Romani mediators at the University of Södertörn in Stockholm. She has worked closely with Strasbourg on syllabi in the Romani language. She works strategically to promote rights and a deepen understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities related to the living condition of the Roma community within the Nordic countries. So the subject of today's lecture aims to address the challenges in the integration of Roma communities in the mainstream societies and protection of their fundamental rights and human rights in Nordic countries. It is unconcealed fact that a bleak and a gloomy picture of the situation of Roma people is evoked by persistent economic and social marginalizations, generally in Europe, particular in Nordic countries. The challenges and issues faced by Roma are more or less identical, similar in Europe. Since the 21st century, Scandinavia has emerged as new destination and sought after destination for Romanian and Bulgarian Roma, who undertook actually the circular migrations, the temporary migrations as a migrant workers or street workers in Nordic countries. Though according to Angus Fraser in his book, The Gypsies, he mentioned that the Roma first arrived in Denmark most plausibly in 1500s, and in Sweden 1512, and Finland in 1515. So in Sweden, you can find that there is a structural discrimination toward Roma, and we will listen to our speaker about this situation. And it is in every area, whether visiting shops, restaurants, renting an apartment, and applying for job, etc. They are facing the structural discrimination in all these Scandinavian or in particular Nordic countries. The socioeconomic situations of Roma communities in Scandinavia have further deteriorated as the implementation of the social welfare policies for Roma and targeted measures, even the National Roma Strategic Framework, that's based on the European Roma Strategic Framework 2020 and 2030, has been suspended. You know why? Because of Russia-Ukraine war. And the focus on these Nordic countries focus solely on a national security and economic consolidation. And the fund for Roma civil society organizations has been cut off. And issues of Romani people, including Roma migrants, are largely neglected in Scandinavia. As a result, every sphere of Romani life in Nordic countries has been crippled. So I don't want to speak further because we would like to listen to our speaker. And I will stop here, and I request our speaker, Angelina, to deliver her lecture. So Angelina, floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. I say to you, everybody, hello, and I'm very glad to be one of the person who holding a lecture for you. I hope you will understand my English because I'm not the English speaker. I'm a Romani speaker. Okay? If I will tell you a little about myself, I'm a Roma person from the Kelderaj group, and I lived in Sweden, and I'm born in Sweden, and I come from a very big activist family who called Taikon. We have done a lot of struggle for the Romani people in Sweden to have the opportunity of human rights that we didn't have here in Sweden. So today I'm going to speak to you about the Nordic country, a pathway to inclusion in human rights. So if you please give me picture number 2.
Okay.
Okay. As you know, everybody, they say that the Roma people come from India. The Roma people didn't know from the beginning that they were from India. This is something that the linguists have found out and have checked out our language, that it's something coming from India, and they say that we come from the northern part of India. But we did have a very long journey, and this journey in different country made that our language have changed a lot from the Indian language, because the fundamental of the language come from Hindi, Sanskrit. But when we was traveling, we was staying in some country for 1 year, 2 year, only stay for the whole life. Some of them, they wander to other countries. And so we did pick up a lot of words from different countries. And we also give a lot of word to different countries. So our language have been very influenced from different language from the country where we have been in our long journey until we come to Sweden. So everybody says that in the 14th century, the Roma people will come to Europe. And in Europe, we did go to a lot of country around the world. So the Roma is a very global group of human who lives in each country. And we did arrive to the Nordic part in 1512. So how could we know that? Yes, we have a lot of document in Sweden who tells us about that. But I will tell you more about it. If you give me the next picture, please. No, 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 one up. The third. Yes, okay. Here you can see our traveling from different countries. And our language, it's a lot of Indian words in it. And we have a lot of words when you speak about the body. We say bal to hear, nak to nose, mui to mouth, and all these are Indian words. We also have a lot of words about the animals. So we say sap to snake, we say chirikli to bird, and we say shoshoi to the rabbit. And all these words, all the linguists say to us, it come from India. And we also have these counting words that we say yek, dui, trin, star, panch. It comes from India. But if we go from number 6 to 10, then we speak Greek, because it's shov, efta, ochto, inya, desh. So our language, we have picked up some from different countries, and some words we have given to other countries. So our language are very, very mixed. So if I will have the next picture, please. As you see, we have been very influenced on different countries in the language, and we also have different group in Sweden who speak different language or variety of Romani Shib, because we call it ourselves Romani Shib. It's a global word for the Roma language. But if you ask me, I will tell you I speak Romanes. If you speak with Galo, the group, they say they speak Galo Shib. So, but the common thing is that we are a big group of Roma who speak the Vlach dialect. Next picture, please. So, historical background. It's common that the Roma always are struggling. They often tell us that we are shouting a lot, we are screaming a lot, we are doing a lot of things that we fight, but we need to fight to survive. And if you look at the historical things, they don't speak about the slavery, because in this journey that we make from India 1,000 years ago, we suddenly get in Moldavia, or what you call Romania today, we was slaves. And the government or the country did was our, I don't know what it called, but they was the one who was, how do you call it in English? Oh, no. We were owned by the state and the church. And what did they do? They sell us on auction like cows or cattle, or like animal, women, men, young boys, girls, even children. And this is a thing that nobody speaks about, because in Sweden, when they speak about slavery, they speak about the people who they get enslaved from Africa in the States. And everybody feels that it's very pity. Of course, it's pity, but even the Roma people have been slaves in Moldavia. And these things have made a lot of problem for the Roma, because it has shaped their identity in a special way. And it did take many years for the Roma people to be free from slavery. And they say that in 1843 and 1856, the struggle was over, because that was when they say that we did get free from this slavery. But it's a very dark history, and nobody wants to speak about it, because everybody thinks that they are very okay in each country. But the Roma in Sweden did tell everybody that it will come one day that we will have a lot of Roma who will come to Sweden from difficult situation, and when the Romanian get in the European Union, we did have a lot of Roma people coming here to Sweden to survive. But how was they going to survive? They were beggar on the street. And in Sweden, we are a very democratic, very good, very white country. You say like that. And it was very difficult for these people to survive because they were sleeping on the street. They were begging for money, and the people in Sweden couldn't understand this thing. And we Roma tried to help them, but the government say no, we give them some money and we send them back to their country because we can't take all these Roma people to help them. So please give me the next picture. Yes, no, number 6, yes. So we the Roma, we call ourselves Roma, but everybody, when they speak about Roma, they speak about gypsies, they speak about Zigeuner, Zigenare called in Sweden, but we are a group that come from India and we call us for Roma. But where did these words come from that we are gypsies? It was a thing that they thought we was a Thinganol. It's a Christian sect in the Byzantine Imperium that the Roma was a group from Egypt, and this word Egypt become gypsies, and these are words who is very negative words because we don't want this word. When they say something bad about the Roma people, then they use the word gypsies or Zigan or Zigeuner. So we preferred that they call us Roma because that is the word that we find ourselves is the right word to call the Romani group. If I could please have the next picture. So here you could see how we did arrive in different countries. And here Sweden is a very small country. All the Nordic countries are very small. So in Sweden, the population in Sweden are approximately 11 million people. In Denmark, Finland, and Norway, you have a population of 5 to 6 million people. And in Iceland, you have 400,000 people living in Iceland. And we are the 5 Nordic country, and all these country, they have Roma living in this country. I can say to you what I know. I have been in Iceland for some years ago, and there was only one Romani family in Iceland. In Sweden, we don't have any counting anymore of the Romani people. It's a law in Sweden or in the Nordic country that we not make a registration who is Roma, who is not Roma. So we think there is 50 to 100 Roma people living in Sweden. In Denmark and Finland and Norway, it's a little bit more difficult to know how many Roma people lives there because they are traveling a lot. The Finnish Roma come a lot to Sweden and they live for a year or two. Then they went back to Finland. And also the Roma from Norway, they go to the Netherlands, they go to France. And it's very difficult to know how many Roma lives there. And this is not the very big question. The big question is that in Sweden, there are a lot of Roma people live here. And how did we know that? Because in the world, we have 60 Romani languages, and 20 of them are speaking in Sweden. So you could understand that there are a lot of groups here in Sweden. The color group someone thinks that some Kali Roma we have in Spain, but they have no connection to the Kali Roma who lives in the Nordic country, Finland, because they are own group who did come very early to Sweden and Finland. Then you have the Kelderash group, which is the group where I'm coming from. And we are the coppersmith, the pot maker, because Kelderash is the name pot maker. And we did get to this country in late 1900. Then you have a group called the travel people. It's not the same as the travels that you have in Europe. These are own travels, but some of them say that they come from England or Scotland. We don't really know because we need some more research. Where do this group come from? And then we have also what we call new arrival to Sweden. And these are Roma from Balkan, Eastern Europe. When it was a war over in Balkan, a lot of Roma people come to Sweden, but they didn't say to the government in Sweden, we are Roma. They say we come from Serbia or other countries because they know if they say they are Roma people, they will be not allowed to stay in this country because it better come from another country and say that you are a Roma person. So this discrimination or stereotype picture of Roma is still living in Sweden, even if we are fighting about these things. Okay, we will have picture number 8. Yes, I told you from the beginning that there are documents here in Stockholm that the first Roma did arrive to Stockholm 1512, and it was a small group with a person called Antonio. He did come with 50 people. We don't know if they count the children or the women, but only the men. So it was a small group of 50 people. And we did have a king in Sweden called Gustav Vasa. He was enjoying that the Roma did arrive because he think he was a very important person. And when you are important, you need to give them some silver coins, you need to give them somewhere to live, and everything was very good. But suddenly his sons grown up and they make a lot of laws to make it difficult for the Romani people to live in Sweden. One of the law was that wherever they find a Roma man, they should hang him, and the woman and the children, they should deport them out of the country. The science says that we haven't found any documentation that they have strangled or done or killed the Roma people, but now the group who calls the travel Roma, they are finding documents hidden in Sweden that they think that they really have done a lot of bad things to the Romani people. They also think that the Roma was the big criminal group in Sweden, and all bad things that did happen in Sweden, it was because of the Roma. It was nothing else. So the Roma was a group that traveled a lot in Sweden and to Finland, because Sweden and Finland was one country before. before Finland make it as their own country. So even in the 19th century, this harassment, discrimination, and systematic exclusion continued in this country here in Sweden. So the history of Sweden are very, very dark. So we go to the next picture. It had been a very long struggle in Sweden. And in year 2000, we did get something which called minority status. The minority status, we are 5 groups. It's the Sami, who are native people in Sweden and live in the northern part of Sweden. They work with reindeers. Then we have the Tornedalingar. It's also some of them are working with reindeers. Some are not, they are farmers. Then we have the Swedish-Finnish people, because we was one country joined with Finland. So when they make the border, a lot of the Finnish people did stay in Sweden, so they make Swedish-Finnish. Then we have the Utes in Sweden, and then we have the Roma. But this was a very big struggle to get this minority status, because Sweden put up a lot of laws that we should upfill to be a minority group. The people should have been living in Sweden for over 100 years. The language was used over 100 years. The tradition, the historical and culture thing was used and being alive in Sweden for over 100 years. And also the religion. And what are they speaking about the religion was, because the Jewish group, many of them, many things are in their tradition, are also one thing in their religion thing. If you come to the Romani people, we have adopted religion from each country where we have traveling. We haven't a specific religion with us from India. We have Roma who are Muslims, Pentecostal, you name it, all the religion in the world, the Roma people have. And these other 3 groups that have lived in Sweden, so their religion were very similar to the Swedish religion. And the Sami who live in the northern part of Sweden, they were afraid to tell that they have their own religion, because they have a special religion in stones and in the nature, because they lived in the nature. So that's why they put one of the things that the religion should have been in Sweden for more than 100 years. So now we are official 5 groups who have a minority status. And what does this give us? It gives us the opportunity to speak our language, to be as a culture group. We have the right to have the tradition and culture, and we have the right to have these historical things that we have with us and what we have lived, and we can tell the people in Sweden about how the living in Sweden were. So this is a very important status for the Romani people. So, picture number 10, please. But how did we get so far as we have done? If I say like this, it was a very big struggle with the government, with the people in Sweden. And after many years, we sit with the politicians and we asked a lot of things and we begged a lot of things that you need to do something with the Romani people because we can't live as we live as we do today. So they give us something called the Roma strategy. You have something similar in Europe, but the big thing was in Sweden, and it was a 20-year long strategy. So from one year, 2012 to 2032, the strategy says that the child who is born 2012 in 2032 will be equal to all the other children who grows up in Sweden. But are we equal or are we not? We have the strategies now for many years, and we have only 6 years left of this 20 or long year strategy, and we can see that we need perhaps 20 more years to really come up to this what we want to do with the rights. But what is the Roma inclusion or the Roma strategy is that we want to make it better for the Roma to be equal when it comes to school, to education, to work, housing, and also this thing of about that people should know our dark history in Sweden and understand why the Roma people very often are afraid from the people in Sweden, or should we call them the white people. Perhaps it's very bad to say like that, but they are very afraid about the society, what they will do to them and to their children. So we are still working in this Roma strategy, and this strategy also did give us a lot of opportunity to educated mediators in the University of Södertörn, and it also gave us opportunity to train a mother tongue teacher to help them how to educate the children in school, to teach them and to preserve the Romani language, because it's very important for the Roma. It's a bit of their identity, the language. And many of the Romani group who lives in Sweden have also lost their language, as the Kala Roma from Finland and this travel Roma who lives in Sweden. They have a few words, but they can't say a whole sentence in Romani because they have lost a lot of words. Because in Sweden we did live in a very big assimilation period here in Sweden before we did get this minority status. Okay, please, next picture. So you can see here is our flag. We have no country, but we have a flag. And as you know, everybody, as I understand, in 1971, we did have a big Roma congression. We decided that this flag from who was created in 1933 should be the Romani flag, make a symbol for the Romani people. And the blue is the sky, the green is the earth, and the red is the wheel of the long journey. But that we are going forward with this wheel. And they're also decided in this Congress, because we have also people from India who was participating in this conference. And they say that hymn, Gelem Gelem, I walk and walk the long road, will be our song that we will sing. And they also adopted that we will have a special orthography, how to write in Romani. And for us in Sweden, it was very funny because the Roma in Sweden wasn't allowed to go to school, so nobody could read and write. But we have an alphabet. It was very interesting. So if we go to the next picture. I was telling you about the Roma people that we have no education. And because was traveling a lot in Sweden, from places to places, we were making pots. The old woman was fortune teller. We live in sites, in tent or caravans. So we wasn't allowed to housing. And why wasn't we allowed to housing? Because if you live in a community in Sweden, this community must look after the people who live in this area. And they will not look after the Roma people because we was the thief, we was the bad people, or we was uh, doing a lot of bad things. So they didn't want us in the community. So we travel along. The children didn't go to school. We didn't give this money that they give every month to the children. They have a amount of money that they give to the children every month. They didn't give us. They didn't give us any flats, so we did have no registration where we lived. And when the Second World War come to Sweden, even hits Europe and Sweden, we couldn't give these small coupons to get some food because we have no registration where we were, where we lived, or anything. So it was very difficult for the Roma people in the Second World War in Sweden, even if they didn't deport us to Germany. They did make a lot of registration of the Romani people because they were waiting if they should send us to Germany or not. But the Roma and the Yiddish people in Norway, they did get deported to these concentration camps, even in Denmark. I don't know what happened in Iceland because we didn't have any Roma then in Iceland. So it was a very difficult time in Sweden. And when they start to allow us to go in school, I was the first generation of children in Sweden that they did allow to go to school. So it was very difficult to go to school in Sweden. There was one Roma child in one big school. I was the one who was the dark one, even if I'm very white. I'm from Russian gypsies, but I was the dark one in school, and I was always afraid. If something broke in school, I was afraid that they say, "Oh, this Roma girl did do it." It's something get lost. I was afraid they would say, oh, it's that Roma girl who have took these things. So this fear that the Roma people have in their body is something that we have give to next generation and next generation. So all the Roma children, without knowing it, we have some PTSD to be afraid of a lot of things because we have been very discriminated historical in our life. But if we go to the delegation of Roma issue, it was a delegation. We was a lot of people sitting there with a lot of important people and with the government in Sweden. And we told about this that we can't get housing because they will not have us in the flats or in the apartment here somewhere. We have difficult to get employment. We have difficult to get education in school. And all these things we tell to the delegation of Roma issue. And they write it all down, give it to the government. And after 2 years, when they have read it, then they decided that we will have the Roma strategy, or what you ever call the Roma inclusion that we have today. So it is very interesting that we have a lot of things doing now in Sweden, because now we have the strategy who help us to do things that we couldn't do before. We are allowed to speak our Romani language even in schools. We are allowed to show our culture, to show people that we are not a scary group. We are very nice. We have very good food. Even in a kindergarten now, in the 8th of April, they cook some Romani food for the children to show them about the Romani groups. So a lot of things has changed to the better. And 8th of April, also many municipalities raised the Romani flag together with a lot of Roma NGOs and people. So we go to the next picture. So what is happening now in Sweden? We have a lot of challenges because we are still discriminated, and we fight a lot about that. And now even there are a lot of political groups who are very, we call them in Sweden, very brown, because they have a very bad political thinking about youths, Roma people, about immigrants and such a things. So we are very afraid now, because we are going to have an election in Sweden in August, and we are very afraid that they will not be the one who rules in Sweden. We have a lot of NGOs who work with different institutions, with the governments, so we could get a better life for the Romani people here in Sweden. And we need to speak to the politician. We need to do a lot of things, but we also tell them that we have a trouble with the newspaper and the television, because when they show something, it's always bad things about the Roma. So now we have in Sweden Romano Radio, that is a news radio in Romani who tells about Roma news or news that happen in Sweden. We have also Roma people who work on television to show films in Romani, to make children's program and a lot of things. So we work in many areas to be a part of the Swedish society. But when the Roma is when we are singing and dancing. This is a special thing that we could see everywhere. But even singing and dancing, we show them that we could sing and dance, but that we also are a part of the Swedish culture because we have been here for over 500 years. So the part of the Romani culture in Sweden is also a part of the Swedish culture. So it's very difficult to get people to understand that, but they need to understand it sometimes, we hope, in the future. So everything we do is all for our children because we want them to have a life and we want them to have a better life than we have when we were small. Okay, next picture. I think it will be the last. So, what do we do in Sweden? Yes, we show the history of the Roma because everybody don't know the history of the Roma people. And it's number 14. 14, please. And we do a lot of struggling with racism because if we are going to be an equal part of the Swedish society, we need to have another picture when they see the Roma people that they don't think that we are the big problem. They need to see us as the good people. And how also we do these things that in the strategy that we have now, the library, and this is a law in the minority status that we have, that all the libraries should have books from the different minority. They should show the minorities' history or culture. So they are helping a lot for these minority groups to show out to other people that we have 5 minority groups in Sweden and it's a law for them to show up that we are here. So I could say that we have good in Sweden, but we have racists in Sweden. It's difficult to get employed in Sweden because your name, so many young Roma change their birth name or last name to a different name so nobody could know that they are Roma. We are allowed to self-identification to say that we are Roma, but it's not many people who say that they are Roma because it's very difficult. Perhaps I'm very old fashioned. I say I'm a Roma. I dress traditional, and in my work, nobody said to me, "You can't be dressed like that," because I'm equal in that area where I'm working. So I am very unfortunate that I have a very good place to work at. So, with that, I will say we hope that one day the Roma people will be equal as other people in different countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angelina, for your comprehensive and illuminating lecture. And your lecture covered almost every aspects of the Roma in Nordic countries, particularly in Sweden. So now the floor is open for the question answer. So if you have any question, please. Anyone, any question, please. Any questions, please? Or
I just raised my hand.
yes, yes, or Henji, please.
I want to thank you, Angelina, so much. 𝒊𝒔𝒄𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒎𝒓. I have only one question. When we talk about the strategies that are made by the Gaje institutions.
Yes.
We never had, say, our Romani strategy made by our movement, by our organizations. And for me, is extremely painful to remember during 15th century, the Sweden was, I think, one first country who made the sterilization of our women. So also I have been learning that as well the laws that were existing in 15th, 16th century has been like follow up to go on with sterilization. And in modern time, this happened almost in countries that are like symbol of democracy in Europe. That happened, as you know, in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, in Hungary, in Serbia, and so on. How you, Angelina, see to how our movement can rewrite the real history of the Roma, while unfortunately we don't have a strong organization, institution that is honored by Roma. What is your vision? Because, excuse me, as much I understood, you were the person who was stopped in that hotel during that you got an award, or did I mix anything? But your experience tells me, your crying wars tells me that it is not easy to live in such country which is well known in Europe, highly developed, and still in the case of Roma, is very optimistic. Again, thank you and hope to work with you.
Thank you, sir. You see, here in Sweden, we did struggle a lot, but they also made a law. It was not only on the Roma people, it was also on people who have some, what do you call it in English? I will think, psychological problem and different thing. And they were in the institution and they didn't want their to have children and such a things. So they put a law that it's no more allowed to make these things that they have done. But even today, we know that in Europe they do a lot of bad things. And I think the only way to stop this thing is to collaborating with other countries who have a law that they are not allowed to do these things. So I think the most hopeful thing is that we work together to strengthen law even in other countries. It's the only way we can do it. And when it comes to live in Sweden, yes, now we live in flats. We have apartments. We have some Roma who are high educated, but they're not saying that they are Roma. We have Roma who are in a low level that they live very badly. So we have Roma in different levels in Sweden, but we can say still that we have been very happy to live in Sweden because we have done a lot of things and we have a big moment here, and we have also a lot of people who has who are science and everything, who struggle together with the Romani people because they don't listen so much to me. But if you are a scientist and say the same thing that I say, then everybody listen. So we need some more Roma with a PhD who speak for the Roma issues. So that's, and I also see that someone is asking for an interview. Perhaps someone can give my email address, and if they need to make an interview, it's okay with me. I hope I did answer your questions. Che mai vuoi mange ti dав duma romanes.
No, te baktali me shunam tut but shukar. No mai o problemo si amaro ke amen das duma sarte avelang bish tranda starvardes bers saranda bers. Tai akana mangela pe yeknevi te pena yeknevo paso anda amari historia kana amen korkore oroma. Que raza mari historia tai skrisara si amari historia o chachipen. Sostar ogaje nailin chachicano jandipe pala amende. Ogaje silen instrumenti, silen mecanismo sarte quieren eromen mai jungales. Tai sar kana quieren amendar jungale manush, hay quieren amendar problemo ando tem kai amen beshas. Kadalestar amen oroma mangila pe yekvarte abela ande amari godi. Amen oromasam bud zurale manusha. Kana gelam yekmia bershka tare India, tai akana sarsi, tai me kana dikhav korkori man, penav devla sar mere paposko papo, tirdas ka tare India, ai sasten mechanismo, sasten drom, sas o Silk Road, si sarte penav yek, ja, ai amenoroma dendam amendar i economia sar kerdam, sar bikindam, sar lelam, sar hirdam, ta i economia sas ande amare basta. Sostaro mecanismo para stereotipo consam amen, naik o doborka tepenav purano, Ostaro stereotipo but sig hablas kana Europa ando deshu eftato shel bersipe kerdas etnikano pucipe con sikon. Tai kadalestar amen penem, normalno, o genocido sosas upralamende. Ai sakadala elementi sartu penes Angelina, Mangela pe maibut manushat kataro PhD. Me gindiv chachesi. Mangela pe manushat amen oromat te beshas ketanes. Mangela pe amen India sa tekeras buti. India musa tekerel amen sa buti. Amen dosta rovat. Akana India mangel pe te pravel pe udara. Poro jandipe, poro barbalipe, eromenza, tai eromenge.
Me penato che mu praltave bachtalo sa sto zuralo ta jetil to kodel.
Vitu ke sai.
Odrom che motas che a me pirdam. Ogajo motol che le manoscessi les panch sarte penato che romanes. Jeksi ki anete sungare sarte destogindo sarte destuma si panch. Consigo javer mașca legaje si le show.
Could you translate it into English? Because there are
Okay.
some people.
Many people say that we have 5 elements: how to work, how to think, how to speak, and everything, smell, and such a things. But if you are clever, you have 6. But the old Roma, I say they have 8, because they did know and have a Romani thinking how to survive, because everything was how to survive. They didn't know why did they left India. Some say it was a civil war. Some say that was starvation. We don't know, but we leave India. And why did we survive? Because we did have another thinking. Our thinking was how to survive. So we did make a lot of unknown things how to survive. And these things are going lost today with our young Roma people. We need to give them back. If you want to speak to me, I said to you, okay, I will make a PowerPoint. But really, really, if you look at my PowerPoint, I don't look at the PowerPoint because I have all in my mind. I come from the old oral tradition where we learn things mouth to mouth, mouth to mouth. And all this thing, we hide it and use it when we need. So the survival for the long struggle way that we have done from India is that we have 8 senses because we are thinking in a different way. And pity now the young people don't understand how to use these survival things. So we need to learn them these things.
Yes. Now, Sharadji, please, your question.
Thank you, Zameer ji. Uh, First, thank you, Angela, for this concise and precise journey of Roma over the centuries and also about their social economic conditions. So you have been very well able to put the Roma in perspective and Roma in current state of affairs. I would like to know your views also that young generation of Roma, how we can connect it back them to India. Like we have a program called No India program, which is for youths of Indian diaspora. Can you would be recommending or suggesting that there should be a specific program for younger generation of Roma who can visit India a back journey so that they can connect it to their roots? So this is one which I would like to have your view on that. And second is how the India can contribute to the technical and scientific development of the young generation of Roma through the ancient Indian scriptures and ancient Indian studies like Ayurveda, like other technological or systems of medicines. So how the India can pitch in lifting the life of the Romas, particularly the young ones who may have got disconnected from India. So how can we bring it back to their roots? I would like to have your view on that.
I will say like this. Okay, could I answer? Okay, I will say like this. Today I'm going to have a meeting with the University of Södertörn. I will bring up to them if we could make a project between the university and you in India to get back the Romani roots, because this meeting I'm going to have is with a woman who are professor in Indo-European language. So she's very familiar with this Indian thing and about the roots that we have in India. And I think there are many people in the Romani group who are interesting of their roots, but they don't know how to do. So I think we need to have a group or connection group, something that we could think about how we will do a project, because without money it will be very difficult to do something, or to visit India, or India to visit Sweden, we need to make a bigger project on these things, so I could hold the connection with you and everybody, so we could do something together, because it's very important, and we should also connect other countries who need to be a part, not only Sweden. We have a lot of countries who need to be more strange in the historical and culture thing that we have in our roots from India.
Thank you, Angela. We already have a No India program of Government of India, which is financed and supported by Government of India. So we can petition to our government to have such program specifically for Roma people, particularly
Yes,
younger generation. So that will be able to take a lot of financial burden out of it.
yes, good. Then we put everything on Zameer, who called me to be a part of this meeting today. So perhaps he will be the connection to help us.
Surely. So the
May,
first,
may I,
yeah, go
Zameer,
ahead.
may I?
Yes, or
Yeah, Mr. Kumar, thank you very much for this question and idea. It is already a few years as I work with Zameer, with Shamparande and others. And last time I was jealous to see many young people originated from India, and they went to India to know India. And we had last 3 years kind of a memorandum of understanding with ARSP and Eurasian Roma Academic Network that I'm leading for. In my network, there are 30 academics, Roma, who are professors, PhD, and so on. And we are always crying how we can organize a group of Roma around of the world to come and to know their cradle of origin, their cradle of life. Many people want to know, want to learn, want to study in India, and vice versa. I had last time a student from India, filmmaker, simply I met in Den Haag, and now she is looking forward how she can get internship, because she's a media person. She's studying film and media, and second one as well I got. So we are working on media issues. Thanks to that they are from India. My origin is from India, and I do radio program, I do media issues, and I need people from India. We are dreaming to make real film about our origin, about Roma today in Europe and Proto-Roma in India. So this type of program is very welcome. I'm asking Zameer to give you my details, and then I will write to you very long letter.
Most welcome.
Thank
We'll
you.
work with Zameer on that. So
Thank you.
working with Zameer on that.
Thank you.
all right. Thank you very much. So, any another question? So I have the last question for you, Angelina. So,
Okay.
as we know that, and not only know, but the Nordic countries, they claim and they are recognized and well known in the world for robust human rights records, and even the media that is known as freest and fairest media on earth. But I find this is so paradox, because the media in Nordic and Scandinavia projecting Roma as a criminal. This is so much stereotypes, prejudices attached with the Roma community, and they are projecting continuously and consistently. They are projecting Roma community negatively in a very bad light, though it has nothing to do with reality. The second, if we talk about the well-known and renowned for human rights, and they claim to be the champion and exponent of human rights and fundamental rights on planet Earth. But the Roma people, the situation of the Roma people in Nordic countries are very deplorable. Their life means they are discriminated in every walk of life, every day. So, is there a shortage or is there absence of strong, robust Roma activism or Roma movement, or there is a no resilient and a powerful Roma civil society organizations? They are not resisting and are fighting for their own rights, their fundamental rights and their human rights. So what goes wrong? Because you can find that they claim, they promulgate and assert that they are the champion of human rights. They have the free and fairest media on earth. So what goes wrong with the community?
I could say like this, that the coin have two sides. On one, you have a picture, on the other side, you have the crown. And yes, of course, Sweden say they are very democratical. And the NGOs that we have in Sweden are very strong because we speak a lot with the government. And all the things about these 5 minority groups, we are fighting with the government a lot, so changes will come. But the discrimination, it's not from the government, or I will say in some working place where you are employed. It's on family who lives in Sweden, who are very Swedish, and they have a very wrong picture of what are the Roma people. So now when we are showing in the library the historical things, we have books in our language, we slowly go forwards to change all this problem. But it's very difficult to fight against racism, because racism, if somebody said to me, oh, you are a gypsy, or say a bad thing, I could answer back. But sometimes it's hidden. And how will you do with the hidden racism? Is these racism things that don't make the Roma people employed? It's the hidden racism who make that the Romani people will not rent a flat somewhere. So we are struggling with something who is hidden. And it's a very difficult thing. And now we have worked so much with the communities and with the government. So now all the schools teachers need to go education about racism. So slowly we're coming forward, but it will take time. And when it comes to media, it's still this stereotyping thing. You know, in 2013, all this registration that they have done in the World War II, suddenly we find it at the police stations, and we have 4,000 or 5,000 Roma who was criminal registration because they have take a lot of paper from the scientists and from the government that they have collected about the Roma, and nobody of us was criminal. So these 5,000 people did get amount of money to excuse what they have done. So we struggle a lot with this discrimination bureau that we have, with civil rights defender that we have in Sweden. So we struggle a lot, and we give also credit for what we are struggling about because we get the rights. But it's a still long struggle. So I hope I did answer your questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. I do understand.
And I hope also that this Indian thing to found our roads, and the other country who wants to be collaborating with Sweden, that you take their email, you can give my email, and we can be in touch.
Surely, Angelina, actually, now that we have been trying to expedite and felicitate the scholars to carry out the research studies on different aspects of Roma communities, especially by the research, especially by the Indian scholars and Indian authors. They have not written much on this subject. So a lot to do in terms of research, especially on Roma community and India Roma Connect. This is the cultural, civilizational affinity with the Roma community. As linguistic, obviously, there's a lot of Western scholars. They have carried out some linguistic and similar linguistic and horizontal philological studies. But in history part, in cultural, anthropological, and sociological aspect, there's a lot of research required. So we have been trying to collaborate and with the different institutions to help in conducting or carrying out the research on different aspects of the Roma communities. There are the few, you can find that then several European scholars, they have written the stories of their own, what they like on the blank, the blank slate. So they have written their own narratives, they have written their own stories which suited them. So it requires it requires a great deal of work, research work, to refute their such fallacious assumptions and erroneous hypotheses which connect the Roma with the different nations or a different community, different the different communities. So still, I have conducted some research. So most probably very soon that book is going to be published, and that has confuted and refuted the different the fallacious assumptions and the erroneous hypotheses with regard to the Roma community, especially in terms of their origin or the migratory routes or the cultural and social institution similarities and analogy between Romani social institutions and Indian social institutions. So that will answer to those erroneous narratives and propaganda. And the second thing, obviously, I'll share your communication detail and address with, and we will hopefully collaborate, because I have also delivered a lecture in Southern University on a Romani language, as well as the Romani culture, especially in the context of marriage, the wedding ceremony, and the similar analogy and the similarity in wedding ceremony between Roma and Indians. So
yes, very good.
In Soliton, and I think that lecture was speech was organized by Dr. Diana Krylova, is from France.
I know
right?
her. Yes, I know her well.
Right. So that is that we need to do, and we will collaborate and how we can help, and we can collaborate and we can exchange that research with the Soliton, and what kind of partnership and collaboration we can forge with the Soliton University. And I think you will be a catalyst. You will help us in that as well.
Okay, and I will recommend you, sir, to read the white book, The Dark History of Roma in Sweden. The white book, because the delegation of Roma issue, they did write down all the dark history that the Roma did have in Sweden for 100 years.
Across Europe, you can say that even the Pope promulgated killing of Roma is neither a crime nor a sin. So you can better imagine what the situation of Roma across Europe, whether it is in Rome, whether it is in Italy, or in a Venetian Empire, or in the Byzantine Empire, or that's in 16th century, 15th century, a lot of different statutory and the laws were enacted to persecute or to oppress or to kill Roma community because of their ethnicity, because of their affiliation with India. So they have been facing still the situation is somehow the same, and they have been facing such a horrible and horrendous human rights violation in each and every country, whether it's the northern European countries like Nordic countries, or whether the Southeastern European or whether Western European countries, everywhere you can find this. The situation is 80%. Even the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, 83% Roma people are in abysmal poverty. So that is a different thing we will discuss. But thank you very much, Angelina, for accepting my invitation to deliver this lecture, and that is a very informative and uh, very the brilliant lecture you delivered, and I am thankful to you. And I extend my sincere thanks to all who joined us, who attended this, and I'm looking forward to your valuable participations in our next lecture. And I thank you very much for joining and attending this lecture. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Bye.
Thank you.
Namaste.